Welcome to Fraz in the kitchen. Here we are near the field in France. It's normally full of sheep, but some of them aren't in the field anymore. I wonder why. This morning we're making mutton curry, and it's from a ram that we've had in the field for a couple of years. It's a couple of years old, which we butchered this week. I'm putting in 1.5 kilos of mutton, which at the moment I'm just searing in a hot pan, sprinkled with a bit of curry powder, and I'm doing it in batches because you can't quite get it all covered at the same time. So a little bit of oil just to deglaze the pan, and then some more. So here's my mutton here. As you can see, it's quite dark in colour. A little bit of fat in it, but not much. It's quite a lean beef. So this will want to cook for somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 hours. So to start with, I'm just searing the meat, seal it in, and then I'm sprinkling in a little bit of Madras curry powder just to add a coating to the lamb, and also a little bit of plain flour. This is my third batch ready on. Next, then after that we're going to start working with some onions before we then make our spicy sauce to go into the curry, and we'll probably top it up with a few vegetables. Next, I'm going to peel a couple of onions, maybe 3, and these will go straight in the blender. These will make the base of the sauce to thicken it out. Now, a lot of people wouldn't do this. They wouldn't blend them up, they just put the onions in whole. I learnt this trick from a man called Paul Longmuir, who was a man from Fife who ended up being a chef at the Hilton in London, and a great cook that he is. So he gave me this story, and it's very easy and makes a great thick base for the curry. Today is the last day of the Six Nations rugby, so we have friends coming from various parts of the UK. In fact, we've had two friends coming from Australia. A plethora of Welsh people, my wife who's Scottish, myself who's English, and of course we all live in France, so those that aren't Welsh will probably be supporting France on this occasion. The 3 rugby matches will take place during the day, and this curry will be the middle meal somewhere around about half time on the second game. Also going to throw in some garlic. Which again, we don't need to be too particular about. No set rules of how much we're going to use. But again, these will just go straight in the blender with the onions. I sometimes cheat and use powdered garlic, or particularly minced garlic that I buy online, but we've run out at the moment. We do grow our own garlic here in France as well, but it's a little bit early in the year for getting that in. Nothing like fresh garlic to go in a curry. My sidekick here, Haggis, is on the floor picking up the bits and pieces. Haggis also benefits when we butcher a few lambs, because she gets the tail ends and the titbits and the hearts as well, which I cook up for her in a special treat. She's very keen on those. So I have my blender here. You probably can't see. I'm just going to drop that in there and leave that to run. Let me see if that's working. I'm also, as you can see now, with the blended onions going into the pot. Also going to blend a few red pepper in there as well. Just to give it a little bit of colour. Just to leave a little bit of integrity in the pepper. And finally we're going to make our stock, and I've got a kettle of boiling water. We'll add some more water to it in a minute. There's a little bit more water in there. Start off with a bit of chicken stock. I buy this on the internet. It's a very concentrated French chicken stock that they use for making some of those fantastic poulet dishes. Then for our spices, I'm going to use the same curry powder, which is a Madras curry powder, big tablespoonful of that. Got some garam masala here, probably just over a teaspoon in there, and some ground cumin, about a teaspoon of that as well. That goes into my bowl here. I will top this up with some smoked paprika powder. Be careful using it because it's extremely strong. Let's see if I can get the lid off it, which I can't. And about half a teaspoon smoked paprika powder. Finally, I'm going to add a bit of turmeric. This turmeric actually came from Morocco when I was there last, so it's got no label on it. It adds a nice bit of colour to the sauce. Little bit of vinegar. This is a very powerful vinegar, so we'll go a bit light on this one, just to give it a bit of kick, and then we'll mix that into the stock. Don't get this on your clothes. Curry powder and turmeric tends to ruin most things, to be honest. In fact, if you don't, I use a red jug, because if you do it in a white one, it'll stay in the jug and you can't really get that out either. So there we go. In goes our stock. And finally, secret ingredient, sugar. Always put a bit of sugar in there, sweetens it up a little bit. And of course, a decent handful of rock salt. A little bit of ground black pepper. And I'll put that on the hob and bring it to the boil. Right, now that's warming up there. To thicken this out, we're basically going to use ordinary plum tomatoes, tinned. Use a good quality one, because the poorer ones in the marsh are just tend to be the sweepings off the floor. So we go with a better quality one. They won't cost you a lot more money. The tomatoes can go in whole because they'll cook themselves down over a 3 or 4 hour period. Wash the tins out. And because we're after a tomato-y type of curry, something equivalent to a jal Fraz, I would probably call it, also go in with tomato puree paste. So a wee tub of that goes in there as well. This comes in various forms, in tubes and what have you. In France here it comes in tins. Now that is ready to go in the oven. It'll go in the oven for 2 hours on 130 degrees. A non-fan oven. I don't feel the need to put a fan on just to cook a casserole in an oven. And then we'll take it out and we'll add some mushrooms and a few other things there, and then give it another hour after that. So we'll see you a bit later. It's the first of our guests arriving for the day, the Australians. Here we are, we've had 2.5 hours and the curry is starting to look fairly good. And we've got some potatoes going on there as well. And the crowd of people here enjoying rugby, all looking very hungry. Now going to let it bubble down a little bit on the hob just to reduce the liquid out of it. And we'll take this for another 10 minutes, just stirring it every now and again. So I've also made some potatoes, which I've just boiled and then thrown in some curry powder and some salt and a little bit of oil and put them, then boiled them first and put them in the oven for a few minutes. And now I'm going to throw in some peas into those potatoes. So with my few peas in my potatoes, we're going to a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of oil. Just cooking oil, doesn't need to be vegetable oil, it doesn't need to be olive oil, and some salt and a good dose of pepper, and then those are going to go back in the oven and just have another half an hour to crisp them up. In fact, we're going to turn the oven up now very, very high. As you can see, the curry is cooking away. It's now reduced down by about an inch from where it was, or its measurement, and it's looking damn good, I have to say. Tasting gorgeous, and now we're just going to go with the rice. And the rice, I'm just using ordinary basmati, is as good as anything else. I like to boil my water first. Everybody puts rice into cold water. I actually like my rice to go into slightly warm water, and I've used the water that the peas were in. So in goes the rice. So 8 people, using 3/4 of that bag of rice. The secret with rice, of course, is not to stir it. So we put that in there and let that just cook away very, very slowly, probably for 15 minutes. Also with rice, I put in a little bit of salt just to taste it up a little bit, and it helps the water boil quicker too. Potatoes look rather good, and here is the curry that's sitting there looking delightful, and we've got some rice in the corner, and my friends are all still here enjoying the rugby. They'll tell you what it was like in a minute. And finally we're served. I missed the serving, but we do have a lot of happy people all sitting there eating their mutton curry. Say hello, and say hello to the mutton. Oh, hello. Quietness is always good.
This is lovely.